Good afternoon. This is Richard with NOLA Sports Beat. I wanted to come to you this afternoon, talk a little bit. I was listening to some things about, the OTAs are wrapping up, mini camps coming up, June 12th, 13th, and 14th, I believe. And there's a lot of talk about Mark Ingram. And Mark Ingram's not in OTAs, and there's a lot of people concerned because for the most part, the rest of the team is healthy and intact. Yeah, there's some guys that aren't on the field, but for the most part, those are veterans that we know who they are. Mark Ingram, to me, it's not going to hurt him any. The 4-game suspension is a problem for the team, and they have to figure something out. Did some looking through statistics, and Kamara had, he didn't get used a lot the first couple games, and he averaged 8 carries a game through 15 games. I don't count the Atlanta game because he wasn't there very long before he sustained the concussion. And I think that they're going to have to, and this is maybe a good time for him to be out so that they can figure out what they're going to do. I think Jonathan Williams is who they're planning to try to fill in with that, or maybe go get somebody else. I think you could see Kamara's carries go up, some from there, 12. But I mean, they average 28 rushes per game to 24 passes, and I think that's along the lines of what Peyton and Breeze both said, that they want balance, and I think that they are going to look to maintain that. So if you look at 28 carries a game, you're not going to get there with Kamara alone. So I think you're going to see a plan. I think it'll be interesting to see what that plan is. On some other notes, it looks like Armstead's healthy. Michael Thomas and Lattimore look to be having good battles. It looks pretty strong. How many times do you see a team return so many starters? I mean, outside of Strief, who retired, and Vaccaro, that was a kind of he was a starter, but that was a hybrid position anyway with the 3 safeties. Von Bell played. It's a very, and the coaching staff, it's a very intact unit. It's going to be a very competitive NFC, but the Saints look to be pretty good. We've already seen some injuries in the NFL. Already that's going to happen every year. Luckily, we've gotten through this. Hopefully, we can get through the 3-day mini camp and get to training camp without it. And then because that's not always true. Even though you can still sustain more, it's one of those things where if you can get through with that, you're one step closer. And we'll just see. I think the team's excited. I think they look healthy. Let's just hope that they're not complacent and they stay to the task. I think that the team, if you listen to the rookies from last year, each one of them to the man said, this must have been something that they talked about, because they said, look, I think Lattimore said today, I want to be a legend. I go out there to be a legend. I don't want to just sit on what I did last season. I think Mike, when you look at Williams, you listen to Kamara, he says the same thing. He says, I want to be better, continue to get better. I think that is a theme for this team. Hey, we made strides last year. We've got more strides to make. I think there's room for improvement. I mean, obviously, third down, something that they've talked about. I think from a standpoint of, the offense was 5th in 28 points a game in scoring. I mean, they're good. I think they want to maintain, but I think they'd like to get close to the top. And I think that they think if the defense really comes around, I think they think that they can. So, because more turnovers and more stops is going to create more points. And I think it's exciting. And that's for now. Have a good weekend. We'll get back. I'll touch on some things. I think next week I want to talk a little bit more about the running back position, talk about the linebackers position, and just kind of get into things and what to look for as we're coming up in the minicamp. Take care. Have a good weekend.